So I guess that's a great segue. Like, what are the demands we're asking for in this contract? And like, obviously, I think what they're trying to do is increase our quality of life so we can stay in the job longer, than and not burn out and like not go through a lot of things that keep people who want to do the job, such as myself, from staying in the job.
Yeah, so one of the demands I'm most proud of is federal defender parity.
Okay.
We know federal defenders are, so the way it works is in New York City, we're quote unquote state defenders, right? So we practice in state court. Almost every criminal case in the United States is in state court. And federal defenders practice in federal court. So if you're charged with a federal crime and you can't afford an attorney, you get a federal defender. We know how much they make. They're part of our union, the Federal Defenders of New York. So that they practice in basically all 5 boroughs and Long Island and a couple of upstate counties. And we said, we're worth what federal public defenders are worth. We do the same job and they get paid on the government scale, on the federal government scale. They also get a pension, which we don't. But we asked for management to give us, in our contract, what federal defenders make, which, depending on your seniority, is anywhere from 21% to a 90% raise. I mean, that's how low paid we are, is that at the same seniority, if we went and represented somebody on, they call it felon in possession of a gun, right? If you have a gun case in the federal court, you may be paid 75% more than I'm paid right now at the same seniority.
Wow.
And that's, people, and we know where people are leaving. They're leaving from places that are making that much more than we are. And so that's our salary demand, is federal defender parity. I could talk forever about our demands, but I don't want to hog too much of the conversation. So, is there anything that was like super important to you in our demands that?
I actually haven't looked at the demands, but I know we had talked about like case caps for housing.
Yeah.
We recently got like a 48 case per year cap in civil, and it's still not enough. Like housing's a little bit different from obviously from criminal defense. We have right to counsel, so everyone is technically entitled to an attorney in an eviction proceeding, but there just aren't enough attorneys to go around. So right to counsel is not a real law in the sense that like there is not an actual entitlement to an attorney because there just aren't enough attorneys for everyone who's being evicted. So having a case cap where we can say, I'm not going to get burnt out by getting an endless amount of cases per year, so I can stay in this job and keep representing these people, would actually, one, keep people in the job, and then, attract talent and have us stay there. I can say that so I started at Legal Aid 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. The people that were in my unit when I started are most of them are gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have like supervision teams. I'm the most senior attorney on my current supervision team.
Oh, wow.
Which is horrifying.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that way. It's a lot of like lost institutional knowledge. It's a lot of like, just the learning that you do from your colleagues in a different way from like supervisors. You lose that.
Oh, no, yeah.
And like, I'm absolutely not qualified to be like talking to law graduates or like new attorneys and being like,
I'm a seasoned veteran.
Yes, I've been around the block. Let me tell you how to do this. A lot, like I'm the one with questions. I can't be helped. I love to help people, but
3 years is not enough.
No.
Think about it. Like, how many office mates have you had, and how many of them are not at Legal Aid anymore?
Oh no, yeah.
I've had 4 or 5 office mates, and 4 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 4 are gone.
Yeah. I think for my hiring class, the class was probably like 10 to 20. Yeah. I'm actually probably underselling that by a lot. Probably more than that. And now there's like a handful of us, 3, 4 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another thing of it, like demographic wise, is that, for our salary demands, like at least, for my Brooklyn unit housing, most of us staff attorneys, not married. Of the ones that are married, I think maybe 2 have kids. Like, it's just not a place that you can have, afford to start a family and stay in this job.
Yeah. I know we were speaking about it before, the comparison to what we get paid and what other public service providers in other states is like a good comparison to explain to the audience.
Yeah, the union just put out a study, an article about comparing cost of living adjusted public defender salaries of major cities, and we're last. Out of 14 major cities, New York City is last. We're behind, in Minneapolis, but the state of Minnesota threatened to strike, right? And they had to do that to get huge raises, right? Life-changing raises. They had to threaten to strike. And they had to threaten so that the people who funded them knew that the courts could shut down. That's what they had to do to get that money, right? And sometimes the city and state and management don't really believe that they have to pay people until they threaten to withhold their labor. We see it. New Jersey Transit may go on strike. I mean, we've seen UPS workers threaten to strike, and sometimes that's what it took. So LA, Chicago, Philly, when you adjust for inflation, we're dead last. And that's pathetic in a city that thinks of itself as progressive, right? I mean, our mayor, who got his cases dismissed by fortuitously, had he called it, I don't think it's a coincidental phrase, but like a big, beautiful budget. It's like the biggest budget in New York City history, which, it basically gives us nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty nuts. I mean, in terms of other bargaining demands, like there are some smaller things. Obviously, salary is the main thing, right? Like getting wages is the main benefit of working, right? We all wish we didn't have to work and could just do whatever we wanted, right? But trying to make the best choices you can in the system that we live in means you're trying to do a job that aligns with your values of helping people, but also you gotta eat, you gotta pay rent. Maybe, like you said, a bunch of colleagues, they would like to have kids and they can't afford to, let alone take a vacation. Like the work's already tough.
Or retire, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look, there are people like in the last 3 months, given that we have a federal government that decides like economic policy, depending on which side of the bed our president wakes up on, like who were like, I don't know if I can retire in the next 6 months. So we have like, I don't know, pages and pages of demands on retirement, on we don't get a real pension. So we want to increase the retirement contribution our employer makes. On telecommuting, people literally reordered their lives for telecommuting because of the what we were allowed to do in terms of telecommuting. And then, the manager pulled the rug out from people and basically said overnight, nope, you have 4 days a week in the office, 5 days a week in the office. And we want the same telecommuting protections as Bronx Defender was able to get, because that's part of the value of sectoral bargaining. But like we have just a huge range of, increasing a retirement buyout for people who've made a career here, retention incentives for people who stayed here past year 10. So it's a really comprehensive set of bargaining demands to make it a place that people can live in a city that's, the greatest city in the world, but also like fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So
On the
go ahead.
telecommuting, like to tie it back to sectoral bargaining, when we had been talking with our own management about telecommuting, and they were saying like, we're giving you this very progressive policy, like we're letting you telecommute 1 day per week, and we are able to say like, we can look at contracts of our sister like organizations and say that's not true. Like other orgs are being able to do it like 3 days a week, and because we have that transparency and like that union solidarity sectorally, we can say like, you're lying to us. Come on.
Right, and gender affirming care.
Yeah.
We made a demand for people who are trans, who are very afraid right now, given, again, the reactionary politics that they may not be able to get covered gender affirming care or access to it, depending on where they live. And managers like, oh, we can't do that. And we're like, we know you can do it because one of our member organizations that has an office in Texas negotiated a contract with what we're asking for in a state that's prosecuting and persecuting people for, existing as trans or for being a doctor who.
So I guess what was the basis of them saying they can't do it? Is they just said they can't, or are they? Because the argument, if they can do it, we can do it. But I guess what's their argument? We can't.
A lot of it is being told that something's not possible or something can't be done, a real sort of lack of imagination, yet we're able to point to either sister organizations in our union or maybe even in another sector where those conditions do exist, where workers can have those better working conditions. Like what we're asking for is very reasonable. If the objective of the employer is to create an environment where people can really have long, deep, experienced careers,